Kyle, I'm going to kick it over to you, let you do your introduction, and take us away.
Thank you, Casey. Hopefully, everyone can hear me well and see well. Hopefully, Zoom is working for everyone today.
Recording in progress.
Hey, the recording is in progress. Thanks. Let me hit the continue button. There we go. So, my name is Kyle Golding. I'm the CEO and Chief Strategic Idealist for the Golden Group. We are a strategic planning, business process management, and marketing integration firm here in Oklahoma City. We also have an office in Philadelphia. Been doing this type of behind the scenes work for marketing, business development, audience development, etc. for a very long time, and have been involved with BBB for several years as well. So I'm super excited to be with you today and talk about kind of both of these topics, both moving past the pandemic and then the value of BBB as we all move our businesses forward. And as I continue to bump my microphone, sorry about that. So for those of you who I could see on the screen, and for the rest of you who have your videos off, maybe hit your reaction button. Would anyone describe 2020 as an easy year for business? Okay. Obviously, I'm getting a laugh. So yeah, okay. Obviously, it's a rhetorical question because it was absolutely not an easy year for business. And the first half of 2021 now, of course, has not necessarily been easy. It's been easier than 2020, but it's still very unpredictable. And unpredictability and uncertainty is very bad for business. So we all spent the last year trying to somehow keep our businesses viable through all of the limitations, restrictions, and everything that came with the COVID-19 crisis, with the pandemic. And of course, first, we all started off not knowing what would happen, how long it would happen. 2 weeks to flatten the curve turned into 12 months or so. And we all were trying to keep our businesses viable. Number one, first and foremost, you want to keep viable, you want to keep open, you want to be successful in staying at least at a minimum level before you can move on. For all of last year, on the podcast that we produce here and client conversations and discussions like this, I've talked to a lot of business owners about the need to adapt, adopt, or pivot. Obviously, pivoting is always something you want to take your time with, and it's a very important decision because it's a big deal to pivot and an even bigger deal to attempt to pivot back. So let's start with the easy stuff, of course. So over the last 12 to 18 months, all of us have been adapting or adopting. So adapting is adding new things to our business offering, changing the way we do business, right? If you couldn't have people in your brick and mortar, you had to do online or delivery or curbside pickup, maybe transitioning from brick and mortar to e-commerce, doing things simply by shipping, drop shipping, etc. These are ways that we've all adapted our business through 2020, through COVID-19 limitations. Adopt is adding new things to your business or even making changes to your business model. This is where a lot of us have added new pieces of technology, new training for our staff, maybe closing our physical space and going completely virtual, work from home, remote, things of this nature, events that aren't in person anymore, but they're virtual or they're on a streaming platform of some sort. Adding that technology, adding that addition to your business model, adding the training to your staff, it costs money, but we all were forced to do it in the last year to survive, to be viable, and to keep our businesses open for what we would hope would eventually be what we're in now, which is the pandemic limitations on our business ceasing and going back to what we would call normal business. I say that in air quotes because it's not a new normal, it simply is normal. All of our businesses have come through the pandemic and now in mid 2021 are in a different place than when we came in to 2020. And our audiences, the people we serve, the people we do business with, also the people that we collaborate with, our supply chain, our vendors, etc. Everyone has been affected by this. Everyone has had to adapt and adopt. And now that we talk about moving forward and being in an ideal normal situation again, not being affected by COVID-19 limitations, the temptation is to go back to pre-COVID. And that's a big mistake. We have a great opportunity right now to continue on with the investments that we've made in technology, the investments we've made in training, the adaptations with our staff and with our audience, The reason that we don't want to go back into what we would call pre-COVID or pre-2020 and 2019 thought process is our audience, the people we do business with, has also come through this, and they have changed their attitudes and their ideas and the way they want to do business with us as well. I often describe 2020 as a 10-year moving forward for work from home and virtual conversations like this. We have clients in 10 different states. We have 2 offices in different parts of the country. And we were typically traveling to clients in 2019 and the beginning of 2020 in order to meet face-to-face, because that's how things were always done. Obviously, all through 2020, every meeting was virtual, was an online platform, or a lot of meetings that were converted to phone calls, or phone calls that were converted to emails, right? This meeting could have been an email. A lot of that happened in 2020. So a lot of my clients have changed their attitude about how they work with consulting that's out of state or maybe not physically in the same space with them. So I don't want to force them back to the way we were doing things before. I want to move forward with them in the way they want to do business in the future, because the client, the person that we're trying to do business with, the customer, their opinion on it is the most important aspect of how we move forward past the pandemic. So with that in mind, the next question would be, if the client, the consumer, is the most important aspect, and I say the most important because they're not the only aspect. Also, our internal processes, our employees, etc., are part of that conversation, but the majority of the conversation should be directed and driven by our consumers, by our clients, because they're the ones who support us. When they buy things from us, when they pay their bills with us, that supports our business. How do you know what they want from you in the future? It's very simple. You ask them. You ask and you listen. So if you are running your business properly, if you're running your marketing properly, if you're...
Hello, this is Sunny.
Hi, Sunny. Okay, sorry, quick interruption. Then we'll be fine. If you are doing things properly anyways, if you're paying attention to your best consumer, you're paying attention to your regular customers, if you understand who spends the most money, the most time with you, that supports your business the most, then you know who to start with to ask, how do you prefer we do business moving forward? It could be something as simple as, do we keep masks for visitors to our physical space? Do the employees need to keep their mask on? Do we keep the hours that we've changed to because of COVID? Do we continue to do online services, to do third-party delivery? Do we do e-commerce and a mix of e-commerce and brick and mortar if that's what you were doing before? All of these questions can be answered by your audience and your consumer. Don't be quick to throw away the investment that you've made in technology and training, not just of your staff, but of those consumers. Don't be quick to throw that investment away and immediately go back to the way things were before, because that's what's normal. Normal is how we all think about business in 2021 today. On June 3rd of 2021, how we think about business and how the people we do business with, we think about the attitudes we have today is all that's important. Attitudes in 2020 and 2019 are just as irrelevant as attitudes in 1975 or 1921. Must move forward. You must continue to move your business forward in the way that is most advantageous for the scenario, which is 2021 post-COVID, post-pandemic scenario. So that's a lot real quick that I tried to throw in. We're going to have a designated Q&A at the end of this. If there's any of that you want to circle back to, I definitely will take those questions and have conversations with you, especially if there are industries or your type of business, if there are specific things you'd like to cover. But remember, decision-making for your business should always be generated by your audience, by the opportunity to serve your audience. Your consumer, your customer should always be directing how you do your business. What they appreciate, you do more of. What they don't appreciate, you do less of. It's the same thing with your marketing, with your communications. The things that they react to, you do more of. The things that they don't react to, do you less of. It's the same situation here, trying to decide what your business model looks like moving forward, 2021, 2022. And ultimately, like any good business plan, any good business strategy, you should already be looking at what 2021 to 2025 looks like, how you move forward. And if you think of what this business can be in 2025, you definitely aren't considering what you were in 2019 or 2018 or any of that nature. So we've all been affected by the pandemic, business and individual. Your competitors, your consumers, no one has an advantage or disadvantage. We've all been affected by it the same way. So move your business forward in the way that makes most sense for you. And again, that's directed by your consumer, a little bit of how you can, your staff, how you can keep your employees happy, healthy, productive. And don't be super quick to no more work from home or going back to the way we used to be, but do be very focused on moving forward in this is how things were going to work in the future. If you focus on that, you're going to be better coming out of the pandemic than you were going in. And that's the silver lining in this cloud of what's been affecting all of our businesses and personal lives over the last 12 plus months. Is the only benefit to going through this is if we can come out the other side better and in a position to be successful in the future. Ultimately, success comes from how you manage opportunity. Opportunity comes from change. COVID-19 forced massive change on everyone in a very short amount of time. But now all we can do to be successful is manage that change, manage the opportunity that comes from the change. So don't be too quick to throw away the opportunities created by that change. Instead, go forward with them until your audience tells you otherwise. So speaking of audience. Yes.
Really quick, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So you went into a deep dive of this on your podcast, just as reminders, right? So do you want to talk about that really quick before you move on?
Certainly. So I did practice for this presentation today. We did a almost 50-minute podcast on the ideas, and we went much deeper than we can today on how exactly you utilize the changes made and how you use that to forecast how to move forward. So the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast, hashtag Neo Marketing Podcast, is on all the platforms that you find podcast and on YouTube. If you want a deeper dive into that discussion that I just kind of wrapped up for you in about 12 minutes. At the same time, as we think about how we move our businesses forward, we also need to not ignore what has traditionally worked for businesses. Traditionally, one of the many ways that we attract audience, attract potential consumers are traditional advertising, word of mouth, referrals, all kinds of things that have always worked for business. And that's one of the roles that BBB has always played in how we attract audience to our business is word of mouth and referrals, and validating those referrals by being a BBB accredited member or accredited business. So I think if you think of how to move your business forward into 2025, you're thinking of future tools. And those tools are typically digital tools, a lot of online resources. But those things are changing every day. There's always something new happening every single day, a new option for you to do something that's beneficial for your business. You should be investigating all of these new tools, but you should also continue to embrace the traditionally productive and effective tools like a BBB membership, a solid, well thought out, well planned website, and then your marketing should be very strategic in how you approach your marketing approach to how you're going to attract and keep the right amount of business. So these are all traditional tools that just need to adapt and adjust to how we move forward in the future. So thinking about SEO, thinking about online presence, thinking about online reputation, these are all things that are kind of buzzwords, and they're very front of mind right now for people when they think about how to market their business. But they're traditional ideas. It is word of mouth, it is referral, it is asking your neighbor or a coworker, who should I hire for this? Who should I do business with? What has been your experience? This has been something that's been around for businesses for years and years and years. So one of the reasons that BBB has been so valuable and viable for businesses for a long time is the validation of those ideas, a validation that you're doing business correctly, that you're keeping your ethics and other things that we expect from professionals in the right place. That all comes from validation from your BBB accreditation. You can mix that with a very progressive, very forward-thinking marketing strategy, utilizing digital tools such as your website, your social media, email, text messaging, and of course, like I say, every single day there's going to be a new platform that comes out that's an opportunity for you to get in front of your audience. Make sure that those platforms make sense for who your consumer is, who your audience is, who your target is, and who your business is, what you stand for, who you serve, your brand, and your position. If you can do all those things, then all the multiple channels that are available to you, some are paid, some are free, some are a combination, are always going to be viable to help your business secure the right audience. It's not about everyone on the planet knowing about your business. It's about the right people who could possibly buy your product, pay for your service, engage you in the way that you do business. That best case scenario audience is all that's really important in your marketing. So don't think too broad about, I need everyone in the world to understand I have a website, to follow me on social media, to know about my business. I just need the people most likely to do business with me to be paying attention to my business. Then you get into the attempts to convert them from getting their attention to an actual business transaction. That's where their online research comes into play. They're going to, if I hear about a business, what's the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to Google it. Your listing on Google, your SEO, which comes from your website, your social media, becomes a valuable tool. But your accreditation at BBB can also be found online, which is another tool, an asset, as people try to decide if they want to do business with you. Our consumers are very informed, they're very connected, they have all kinds of tools in front of them, and everyone approaches these things differently. There's no set way that everyone approaches trying to decide if they're going to do business with your business or not. There's multiple ways that people's brains work and their technology that's in front of them, the opportunity they have to come to the idea of interacting with your business or possibly doing business with you. If you cover your bases, if you are consistent in your messaging and the ideas, if you understand who your consumer is, if you understand what your value offer is to the value proposition to your consumer, and you explain it consistently across your marketing, you have something where you're easy to find online, which generates the idea of being a legitimate business, not just some pop-up who's just trying to take your money and get out of town quickly. That whole idea of roll into town, make your money and get out of town. Having an online presence, established social media following, understanding your audience, communicating consistently, and being able to be found in multiple ways, online, in person, have people give you referrals, people that you've done business with in the past, give their experience, and then of course things like validation by BBB accreditation and other tools that prove who you are, how you do business, and the type of consumer that you best can serve. When all of that comes together, you end up with a perfect storm of not being in a sales cycle where you're trying to convince someone to give you the opportunity to sell them something, but you're in a conversation, a potential relationship that ends in conversion. They buy the product or service. You have presented your potential value proposition. You have created an expectation that you can then meet. When you meet that expectation, your marketing matches up to the actual experience that the consumer gets from you. Then the idea of them being a repeat consumer, a repeat customer, which is your best customer because it's the lowest cost to you and the highest profitability. And then, of course, being able to refer you to others and then potentially even becoming a brand evangelist, going out into the world and telling people about their experience with your business, even though you didn't ask them to, which of course is the best marketing tool you could possibly have, is a personal validation from an individual who has nothing to gain from it. If all of this combination comes together, the opportunity for us to have strong businesses, attracting the right audience, high conversion rate, repeatable business, predictable business, and then all you have to do is simply run your business in a great way, meet the expectations you set with your marketing, just do your job, treat your customer and consumer the way you would be expected to be treated when you're the customer, and it's a self-replicating idea of success. If you can get into that mode, if you use all the tools available to you and continue that process, always making small adjustments, paying attention to your audience, doing what they want, doing more of what they like, less of what they don't, these things will change, a new platform will come up, new ways of communicating will happen, doing your experimentation, following the process will always have you in a position to be successful, as long as you actually listen to what your consumers tell you and not simply trying to force messaging down their throat. I think all of you would agree that when you're the consumer, when you're the person making the purchase, you don't want to be pushed into something you don't want. You don't want messages driven down your throat, and you don't want expectations set that then aren't met. You know, when you see a beautiful hamburger on the print ad and then you go and order it in the drive-thru and it doesn't look like that, it's very disappointing. So let's avoid those things, move forward in great ways, utilize all the tools that are available to you, and the potential for us to be successful moving forward, even if things like a pandemic or other limitations on our business come about. The core of your business, your strategy, and your structure will be built for success.
Thank you, Kyle. And I love what you kind of wrapped up there. Like, yes, the pandemic happened, but look at all the people online today. Like, we've made it, hopefully, to some other side, if you will. So I think that there is definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm going to share my screen now, and then I'll jump into my presentation. If you've got questions for Kyle, you can save them for the Q&A at the end, or just pop them up. Maybe we can bounce back to him when appropriately as I'm working through my things.
How does a nonprofit get set up with BBB accreditation?
Yeah, okay, so Jake just brought it up. How does a nonprofit get set up with BBB accreditation? That is through our Wise Giving Alliance. Kit, am I correct on that? Yeah, so I'm happy to share that link with you, Gina. You can check more about that out.
I'll add too that nonprofit organizations, obviously people want to support nonprofit organizations they think are doing the right thing for the right reasons. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who try to take advantage of that and try to say they're a nonprofit or claim they're doing things that they're not. So a BBB accreditation, along with the other types of accreditations that you can get specifically for nonprofits, GuideStar and some of the other ones, are extremely important. So you might think BBB is just for businesses, but the accreditation is definitely going to be beneficial for a nonprofit, because one of the top reasons people will support or not support a nonprofit is if they trust that you are doing what you say you're going to do with the donation that they're going to make or volunteering their time.
Jana, I just sent you that link so you can learn a little bit more about that.
I've got a question for Mr. Golding.
Yes, sir.
So, for the Golding Group, what have been the two most valuable parts of your accreditation?
So for us, because we do consulting and we work at what we consider very high level, our customer, our client is C-suite. So our sales cycle is very long. No one ever says, oh, you should hire the Golding Group, and the next day they hire us. It's a long process of some communication with us. There's definitely research on their end, both online and in the community, in the business community, if you will. And every client that is on our roster now and has been for the last 10 years tells us the depth of research they do to decide if they want to continue conversations with us and potentially work with us. So at any point, something could have stopped them from continuing on the process, because it's a long cycle for someone to decide to work at the level we work with them. So being able to, my response the first time I talk to someone and they say, why should we hire you? Of course, I give them reasons. I give them what we specialize in and the benefits of working with us. But then I tell them, our clients are all listed on our website. You can call. I'm not telling you to call. You can call any of them. Our reputation online it's out there for you. And we have our BBB accreditation listed on our website with the link directly to our profile. And I just tell people, you want to know about us? I could tell you all day long we're great, and you're only going to believe that so far. But our online reputation, our BBB accreditation, our membership in things like Oklahoma Venture Forum, etc., those are all the factors that make people decide that we are capable of working with them at the level we say. Set that expectation, meet that expectation. So BBB accreditation is absolutely a part of our sales cycle process.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
A big thank you to Kyle Golding for partnering with us on this event. I love hearing about all the new things that you have going on, and we so thank you for sharing with our community about how to move forward. And even though, like I said earlier, it's June, but it almost feels like we're starting a new year at this point. I don't know if it's just me, but a lot of good things I think coming for business through the end of this year. I'll also follow up with some information about things that BBB is doing this fall. We have got some very exciting new events that we'll be launching. I don't want to tease too much, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think some really awesome ways for businesses to grow and connect as we head into 2022. If you have any further questions for us or for Kyle, I'll include all of our information in the follow-up. And thank you so very much for attending today. I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.